Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I have a very exciting guest with me today. We're talking about customer service and loyalty. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we are a PR growth company and specialize in helping businesses scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure you stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs or below, and we'll make sure we get that to you. But today, I'm excited to be chatting with Bill Price with Driva Solutions. So welcome, Bill, to the podcast.
Thanks, Heidi. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
It's a pleasure to be with you too. And can you kick us off by telling us about you, your company, and your role within it?
Sure. So Driva Solutions is I guess I'll call it a boutique customer service, customer experience consulting or advisory firm. Mm-hmm. I have a group of experts around the United States and in South America who support me and support our clients to attack problems, to build opportunities, to improve experience, manage their cost structure at the same time. And then along the way, I formed an alliance, a partnership with 8 other similar companies around the world. And collectively, we're called LimeBridge. So we help each other in our respective geographies and in the rest of the world doing the same sorts of things.
Amazing. So what inspired you to establish Driva Solutions?
Well, I'll take you back to the origin story. Ready to leave MCI back in the late 1990s, 1999. And form my own company. I had some venture capital money lined up, and it was really exciting. But then a headhunter recruited me to go interview with Jeff Bezos at Amazon, and so I dropped the venture route for several years, 3 years, and came on board as Amazon's first worldwide VP of customer service here in the Seattle area. Got to be the middle of 2001. I'd been there for a few years, and I told Jeff I needed to go off and scratch this big itch and form my own company, and he respected that as a successful entrepreneur himself. So I left and started to go back to some of those venture firms, talk to some new ones as well. Decided, at least in the meantime, let me just do some consulting. A lot of companies had approached me to say, would you come work for us, or would you come help us and apply some of the Amazon techniques and processes, whether they were e-commerce or in any other business. So I had several clients right away, and that was fun to do, and we made some good progress together. My early team and I made some good progress together. The venture route was not as successful the second time around because 9/11 struck, and the stock market tanked, and venture capital money dried up for about a year. So I said, okay, I'll just keep doing this, and I've been doing it now for 20 years. So.
Wow. So Driva Solutions aims to increase customer loyalty while controlling costs. So what are some effective methods you've identified to achieve this balance without compromising the quality of service?
Well, one of the things that we put in place at MCI and then even more so at Amazon was the idea of identifying what we call dumb contacts. Dumb contacts are ones that are frustrating or irritating to the customer, and they're ones that you don't really want to have to plan and support with an assisted team, a contact center, let's say, or a front office of some sort. So we zero in on what are the dumb contacts, the ones that are the most frustrating and irritating ones. And then we work on a number of tools to remove those. We use the word to eliminate or to eradicate the dumb contacts. So it actually has like a triple win. It reduces costs. The customer support team prefers it because they don't have to handle some of these issues. And then customers are relieved of having to deal with it. So an example would be, I don't understand this promotion that you're sending out to me. A lot of companies, marketing companies, e-commerce, banks, all of them say telcos have lots and lots of promotions and different programs. And it confuses customers. And they have to interrupt what they're doing to make a phone call or send a text message or WhatsApp message or go online, look at their app to find out how this promotion is being used. It should be really clear. And the whole Amazon ethos about customer service was it needs to be simple and it needs to work. So with those really easy concepts, what we do is we go in and we figure out where are the dumb contacts. Let's get rid of them. And that's the starting point. The
Okay.
second point that we do, just very briefly, is we figure out, well, some of the contacts are useful for customers, but you really don't want to have an expensive resource to support them. So let's figure out how to digitize those. Let's figure out how to automate those, provide self-service. Not for everything. In
Mhm.
other words, it's a lot of companies put too much on self-service and it confuses customers again. So be really judicious about what goes into the self-service world. So that's the second major strategy that we put in place over the years.
Well, I have some companies I could probably send your way because when I make phone calls and try and get to talk to somebody, they make it impossible. They want to
Impossible.
send me a text message to like then chat with, and I'm like, no, I just want to talk to somebody
Right.
on the phone, right? So I like that you brought that up because you're like, okay, don't overdo it, right? Don't make it so, try to simplify it so much where you're actually frustrating the customer. And now you're making it more complicated for them when I'm shaking the phone going, I just want to talk to somebody.
Yes, yes,
All I want.
exactly.
And I don't always need to talk to somebody right though, right? You like we don't always need that, but we want it. We want to when we do want it, we want to make sure we can
Exactly.
find how to do that very easily. So based on your extensive experience, Bill, what core principles do you believe are essential for delivering exceptional customer service that drives business growth?
The first and foremost one, Heidi, is that my co-author and I use the expression, it's a whole company challenge. All the
Mhm.
company has to be involved. Erroneous assumption over the years has been, well, you've got a customer service team. They're the ones that are going to fix all this stuff. Well, no, customer service teams are there to be like a big catcher's mitt, using the American baseball analogy. Now that we've opened up the baseball season, it comes into time again. And their job is to catch those balls that come in and then to toss them back to what we call the owners. So if the problem is promotions, then get it back to the marketing and promotions team so they can fix it and simplify it. If the problem is late shipping, get it back to the logistics team. If the problem is the website's unclear or there are mistakes on the website, get it back to the development teams. And then there has to be this pitcher catcher symbiosis so that when they catch it, then they fix it. And then we wind up tracking what the improvements are over time. So it's like a lot of other processes and changes say it has to be at the the C level, the executive level. And what's important is they need to know what's really going on. So we encourage executives, no matter whether it's a multi-billion-dollar bank or a small operation, make sure your executives sample the customer service that your customers have to go through. Use the same phone numbers, go through the same steps, and find out what it's like. A little bit of mystery shopping. And so this whole of business, whole of company challenge is really the first principle to start with. And the second one that I mentioned is owners, and having owners who wind up taking responsibility to fix the problems and to either do the elimination or the digitization or to improve the way the information is shared. So those are two of the foundation principles.
Though that's really good. Those are good points, and I like the fact that you have the whole company getting involved, like testing it, being
Right.
saying you're a customer, going in as a customer, and
Right.
what's the experience you're getting. I think that's key. So you brought up being a co-author. So in your book, you discuss delivering great customer experience with less effort. Could you share
Right.
some key strategies that businesses can implement to reduce
Sure.
friction and enhance customer satisfaction, and also uh, where we can get your book and more about the
Yep.
book? Yeah.
Okay, happy to talk about all that. So this was my third book that came out called The Frictionless Organization. It came out in 2022. My co-author is one of my Linebridge partners out of Australia, David Jaffe. And this was a book that came out of a lot of consulting work and research that we did. So both consulting and research we did in a wide range of companies, telcos, government agencies, e-commerce firms, and the like. And the idea of frictionless is an interesting challenge because we all know friction. Friction are the frustrations and the interruptions and the problems. When things are frictionless, we don't really pay attention to them. They actually work smoothly. And that's what we're seeking is that smoothness, that simplicity.
Mhm.
So one of the first principles of frictionless is to define the reasons why customers are contacting you in very simple terms with a limited number of reasons that you can actually get your arms around. Some of the companies we work with have thousands and thousands of possible reasons because they want to know anytime anybody contacts us about this particular little concept or this problem. And it's too difficult to figure out whether that's happening, whether you're using speech analytics or whether you're using a customer service agent to actually do the coding. Other companies only have three or four reasons, like billing issues. what does that really mean? I mean, it doesn't tell you what to do. Or they say technical problems. It still doesn't tell you what to do. So we look at something like 25 to 50 reasons, and there could be sub reasons, but the sub reasons should be analyzed using analytics and basically just come up with a very simple list. And then each of those 25 to 50 reasons needs to be assigned to an owner, going back to our previous point. And that owner needs to take responsibility to figure out what to do with it. And one of the actions is eliminate, another one is to digitize, another one is to leverage, meaning we want those contacts. So if a customer says, tell me about your new product. Well, you could say go online and check it out, but a smart company says, hey, sure, thank you for asking. Let's talk about it. Let's see if this fits you. Let's see if this works for you. And that should be the province of someone in the marketing or sales department who either takes those contacts or enlists and trains customer service to do a good job to handle those issues. So the first real core principle of being frictionless is to figure out where the friction is, which we touched on a minute ago, but then figure out what these 25 to 50 reasons are, and then just track them very, very carefully throughout the company.
Mm. So you mentioned LimeBridge. You brought
Right.
Global Alliance, and as a co-founder of the Global Alliance, how has this 9-country
Mhm.
collaboration influenced your approach to
Wow.
customer experience consulting, and what benefits does it offer to your clients?
Lionbridge has been instrumental and also a lot of fun. We've gotten to know each other over the years, socially, professionally. It's been a really great group of people. We are based in the Americas. My company, Deriva Solutions, in France, Germany, the UK. We used to have an office, a partner in Sweden as well, but he's retired and doing something else. Also in Japan and in India and in Australia. So what's really been great about it is that we have shared practices and we've looked ahead towards each other's opportunities. So for example, the chat and WhatsApp phenomenon was huge in Asia before it really arrived on the scene in the Americas and in Europe. And so therefore the move from having inbound phone calls to this two-way SMS, text, WhatsApp, and so forth, and other names of these services that are popular in Asia was huge. And so the whole mobile communication was much bigger in Asia before it was in the United States. So when we would sit down for our annual or semi-annual meetings, we would share stories. And that's really the best way to find out what's going on is, here's a problem, here's how we addressed it, and here are the improvements. And we'd all share these stories with each other, and we found out that some of the stories were very common, but the means and the methods were really quite different because of the popularity of these tools or these cultural practices around the world. In the US, for example, AI, of course, has taken off like crazy. So now we're talking about the impact of AI, which we'll probably get to later on here, in terms of embedding that as both a customer facing way to have communications, but also your employees, making sure your employees are able to embed and use AI in a more efficient and effective way. And so I've been able to share some stories of what we have done and what we're building actually as tools now and share those with the LimeBridge partners around the world. So the last thing that's been really great about is that if I've got a US based company with operations in Asia and Europe, I'm sorry, yeah, in Asia and Europe, I don't have to send a team out there. I have a team on the ground that really knows what to do, and we enlist each other in that way to do the analysis, to do the diagnostics, to help put in place solutions in the local markets. And the reverse happens as well. If it's a European-based company with a large U.S. subsidiary, then my team helps my LimeBridge partner out of Europe to make sure everything is consistent. So it really works out as a way to help each other out and also to share and to look ahead to what's happening.
I love that because the collaboration is extremely important in business in order to grow and expand. And I think how you're doing it is phenomenal. And I haven't heard much of
Mm.
anybody else doing it.
Oh,
So
good.
how did you create this? What was the inspiration? How did you find these partners?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I formed Riva Solutions almost by accident and by fun after leaving Amazon. So Amazon was becoming global when I left. We
Mm.
had operations at that time in Germany, the UK, France, and Japan, plus the United States, of course. And so I really like global business and the challenges and the fun really of doing global business and travel. But I didn't want to set up branch offices around the world. So I reached out to uh, San in Tokyo, who used to report to me, and built the Amazon Japan customer service team. And he was about ready to leave Amazon anyway, so he thought this was a good idea. He wanted to do it as well, have an international focus without the international branches. And then I reached out to Peter Massey in the UK, with whom I had done a lot of public speaking at conferences in Ireland and in the UK. And he was just about ready to form a new consulting firm, and he had the same notion too. So we sat down together in London, created this concept of Limebridge, reached out to other folks we knew around the world, and all of whom had the same sort of notion. We either helped influence them, or I think they maybe had it themselves, which is, well, I'm in Germany here, big market, but if I've got a German client that has a problem in North America or Asia or Africa, I don't really want to send people over those places. So we wound up having this theme of helping each other out. And first meetings were actually at my place here in Seattle, and we had a good time kind of forging this concept of Limebridge.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned AI, so let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So Driva Solutions leverages generative AI and machine learning into your predictive and analytics programs. How do these technologies enhance customer retention and also contribute to sustained revenue growth?
Well, let me talk about the first one, Heidi, which is about customer retention itself. Customer retention and employee retention are themes that have been around for a very long time. And there are lots of books and articles written about it and consulting practices wrapped around it. But a lot of it is speculative. Why do our customers leave us? Why do our best employees or any employees leave us? Exit interviews are a thing of the past. You really can't interview a customer and figure out why they left. In fact, some customers leave slowly and quietly and don't even tell you, and all of a sudden you realize that they canceled their contract or they're not buying anything from you anymore. And in the day when you've got plenty of replacement customers to mask it, that's one thing. But now companies are realizing we have to really hold on to as many customers as we can, and certainly what we call the best customers, the ones that are most important for us, that are most valuable for us, and most profitable for us. So we have predictive tools now that we have built using different forms of analytics and heuristics and algorithms that figure out why are our customers leaving us. And it's usually a combination of a number of different factors that have to be analyzed over time with different weights assigned to them. And so what we do is we start with all sorts of interactions that we know about: WhatsApp conversations, emails, chats, phone calls, social media posts. We add to that transactions that we know. How many times have you bought something? How long were you on the app? What did you do here, there, and there? And basically, it's looking at all those different transactions. And then we come up with, and also other forms of data, which add to this whole stew, and come up with what are the most valuable and targeted indices or reasons why customers are staying or leaving. And it might be ones that are really surprising to you. And that are not necessarily on the short list. If we asked executives why your customers leave, they might say, well, because it's price. We've increased our price and they're leaving. And that's sometimes a reason, but it's only one of the reasons. It could be because you weren't responsive to them 5 times in a row when they came in for a problem. As you mentioned, Heidi, making it difficult to get support. It could be that you promised to get back to them to fix something on their dialing plan or their program, and you never got back to them. And they said, that's it, one and done, I'm leaving. It could be that you wound up not listening to a very important problem that they had because you didn't think it was particularly critical, but for them it was critical. And so we come up with this predictive index that says a probability of a customer leaving or probability of a customer staying. And you can add survey information that sometimes is useful, but surveys are not, customers don't respond to all surveys. So you collect as many survey data points as we can, because that also is useful. And if you have any other interactions, that's useful too. And then what we say is, okay, it looks like Heidi started out with a very high probability of staying, but over time it's decayed for these reasons, specifically these reasons. So let's now intervene, the term we use, the verb we use, let's intervene and do this. It could be an apology. It could be a refund. It could be a new offer. It could be downsizing or downsizing you from this particular plan to one that's a little less expensive, but more in tune with what you're doing today, what your needs are today. And it could be just calling you up because we haven't heard from you for a while and just say, hey, how things going? And you might go, well, let me tell you, I've got these three problems and I don't even bother contacting you anymore about it. And so these interventions, we score these interventions and machine learning comes in to say, well, that intervention worked. It looks like this is turning around. She's buying more. We're hearing better things on social media. We're getting a more positive vibe here. Or it could be that the intervention did not work, in which case we drop that intervention or put it on the consistent series of these tests. And it's the old-fashioned idea of testing and learning. So that is one of the three areas that we have built that is very exciting. The other one, just very briefly, as I talked about the 25 to 50 reasons, we have a way now using Gen AI and several large language models, LLMs, to take recorded calls, to take any form of text, and then create this taxonomy, this 25 to 50 reasons automatically, not having to use agent coding. And because we've done so much of these over the years, we have like a 95, 97% accuracy rate, much higher than most analytics tools, to tell you why customers are contacting you for support. And that opens up the whole concept of, okay, now let's get this reason over to this owner. Let's get this other reason over to this other owner. And we call that AIG, Automated Intent Generator. And so that's another one of, and we have two or three other ones that we have under wraps that we're building. But each of these is really set up to deal with specific customer problems or company opportunities.
So talking about future trends,
Right.
so looking ahead, Bill, what emerging trends do you foresee in
Mm.
customer experience, management, retention, and how should companies prepare to adapt to these changes?
I think one of the most exciting ones, Heidi, is that we know so much now because of analytics and because of AI. We can anticipate a lot about what your needs are before you even express them to the company.
Mm.
And we have to tread carefully on that, of course, but we can test it out by saying, it looks like Heidi or a customer has been contacting us fairly frequently about challenging us about the accuracy of the bill, the invoice that we're sending them. There must be something there. Either it's unclear to this customer, or maybe we've made some mistakes, or maybe that customer really is in a way saying, I don't like how much I'm paying. Can you put me on a better plan, or is there a better fit for me? And so using these analytics tools to look at that customer who might be at risk or might be an opportunity for some changes, reach out to that customer and say, hey, we've noticed you've been contacting us for these issues. We've got these new ideas that we want to share with you, a couple of new plans and new products. What do you think? And before the customer even contacts you about anything in the first place. Another exciting thing we're seeing is when you do, as a customer, when you come in on an app, on a website, using an IVR phone system or whatever the front end is, again, we should know who you are, when you contacted us the last time, what that issue was, and the likelihood of why you're contacting us today. So banks are doing this now, right after they send out bills. Utilities are doing this right after they send out their monthly bill in the United States, for example. And the customer calls within 3 days. It's probably something about that bill. And so if the automated system can say, we sent you the invoice a few days ago, and we know that now you're contacting a few days later. Are you contacting about your invoice? And the customer might say yes, or press 2 for yes, or whatever the interaction is. That's great. Well, we'll get you over to our billing specialist right away. So instead of having the customer navigate through some sort of a long menu and say what's going on, or press 1 for this and 6 for that and 9 for that, just know what they're doing. So basically use what you already know, add some logic to it, and then try to get that customer to the right location so that it makes it easier and more efficient all around. So those are two examples that we see emerging. And when customers get involved with that, they get excited. They're like, wow, you remembered me.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I for one would appreciate that because it's
Yeah.
tough to sit through listening through six prompts. And then
Oh,
when
yeah.
you finally go to a prompt, there's like about seven more.
That's
It can
right.
be highly frustrating. So yeah, that's incredible. So I'd love to switch gears a little bit and talk about
Sure.
business growth. You've been in business a really long time. You have a lot of experience. What are some challenges you faced as you were growing and still continue to grow, and how have you overcome them?
Well, I think one of the challenges, certainly in the consulting advisory business, is that it's a project by project business. And if you're good at it, you wind up helping the customer so that they don't need you anymore.
Mhm.
And that's been my philosophy from the beginning. I don't really want to see a case where we do project after project after project, certainly not doing the same project. We work with big enough companies that we often do multiple projects because they have multiple countries, they have different challenges, and that's perfectly fine. And we're excited to do that. We've had some great long-term relationships with both US and non-US based companies that have had a series of problems, and we've been able to refine these solutions over time with them. So that causes an opportunity and a challenge, which is what do you do next? How do you continue to build business? How do you continue to get the word out about who you are so that you can wind up bringing on some more projects, some more clients? So I use LinkedIn quite a bit. I post on LinkedIn. I wind up writing these books I've mentioned. I've written, co-authored 4 books right now. That helps a lot, having those on my website, which I'll get to in a minute, but also just having them refer to them on LinkedIn. Podcast interviews that I wind up reposting, so that winds up getting the word out there, so that Driva Solutions and Bill Price combined are part of the thought process. My team around the United States and my Linebridge partners are great. They look out for opportunities and bring in new solutions or new prospects as well. We work on those together. And then going back to the website. So I had a website for a number of years that I didn't bother to update, which was really a shame. And now about 3 years ago, I completely overhauled the website. We've kept it current. I've got my team posted, listed on there with their pictures so you can see who the team is. We talk about the solutions, some of which you've quoted from in the interviews today. And then we have some case studies. And case studies are like stories. And as I mentioned a little while ago, stories are powerful. We've been doing stories for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years as a species, as humans. So we tell stories. And when I tell stories in the books and tell stories on the website, I've often gotten feedback saying, we're just like that, or we don't want to be like that. In other words, we want to prevent that from happening. So can you come in and help us to figure out what's going on so we don't have to remediate? We want to be able to do things in anticipation of and to obviate the need for problems.
Mhm.
And so those are all that's the first big challenge is how to generate the business. So over the years we've had 150 clients and about 400 projects, so a little more than a 2-to-1 ratio, and it's kept us nice and busy. We've never been idle, never had no business. We've had a lot of business sometimes, and it's been a little quieter, which is the nature of it.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the first answer to the question.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned a lot of things that you're doing to get
Yeah.
in front of your ideal clients. First, who is your ideal client? Do you have a specific industry you work in? Are you agnostic? Do you have a specific size of company that you work with? What would that look like for those listening?
Yeah, I'd say, Heidi, we're agnostic in terms of verticals, and we've done all the major verticals. Probably our heaviest 2 or 3 are telcos, e-commerce, and travel transportation. Those are just because they happen to be very large users of customer service operations and have big issues as well. We The ideal customer for us, it could be large, could be small, but it really has one of 2 different traits. They either have a problem that they can't figure out how to fix, or as I touched on a few seconds ago, they're doing pretty well, but they want to make sure they can figure out what is not going well. In other words, the cracks that are beginning to appear that they don't even see sometimes, that we can come in and help them to identify so that we can help them fill those cracks before it turns out to be a real problem. So
Mhm.
most of our clients have been in the first category, that there's a known problem. Customers are exiting, as I mentioned earlier. Costs are going up. The rate of contacts is going up. Customer frustration online or with regulators is going up. Our customer service agents are frustrated with our tools. They don't know how to use our own knowledge tools. All these are symptoms. And so we come in and we help to figure out how to unravel and then put together those symptoms in a different way. And then the smaller of the two, but we have a lot of fun with this second category, are ones that are companies that are doing very well. Some of the household names that have great customer experience scores and everything, but they just know that something is going to bite them. So what's out there? So can you come in and do a diagnostic? Can you interview our folks? Can you interview some of our customers? Can you look at our data and tell us where the problems are? And we know the patterns, so we can come in really quickly and do that.
Hmm. So, and you mentioned like marketing strategies, what you're doing to get in front of them. Is there one that you're literally like doubling down on this year, or a new one that you might be trying out that you haven't done, worked
I think
on
the
before?
doubling down is probably LinkedIn. I think
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn has really grown and matured over the last 5, 10 years since Microsoft purchased it and added lots of new functionality to it. And so I post in LinkedIn. I wind up reposting other articles that I find useful. And when this podcast comes out, I'll post that as well, and we'll be able to get that word out in both directions. I think LinkedIn is probably the number one. And for me, number two would be some of the writing that I do outside of LinkedIn. So the books that I've co-authored, I'm one of the advisors on a website called Customer Think, and Bob Thompson has been running that for a number of years. And I write 2 articles. I write one article every 2 months, so about 6 per year, and I've got about 60 or 65 of them that I've done now over the years. And some of them are repeats of or variations of my book themes. Some of them are ones like, what do you do with silent sufferers? So what do you do with those customers that don't bother to contact you? They Do you reach out to them? Can you figure out ways to get them more engaged if they haven't bothered to contact you? Maybe they're okay. Maybe they're actually happy campers, but most of them probably aren't. Most of them are probably silent sufferers. So I write some articles about that to stimulate some thoughts, and that's another way to keep in front of prospects and customers as well.
So, what are your some of your biggest goal or goals for 2025 with Driva?
I think the biggest one is building out this Driva AI product suite that I mentioned, the predict customer churn, the automated intent generator, and several other products that we are building that use LLMs, that use Gen AI, that use the experience that we've built up over the years and some proprietary knowledge and databases that we have. We meaning my entire Driva Solutions and Linebridge team worldwide. We're excited about that. We've got some customers on it right now. We've got a number of exciting prospects on that right now, and we're building that out as we speak. And that I think is the biggest objective and exciting move in 2025 is to add that to our repertoire.
That is exciting. So, and it sounds like you've had an incredible journey so far. So, if you had a magic wand be able to fix one thing in your business right now that's either holding you back or slowing you down in order to get to your goals, what would that one thing be?
Well, I think the one thing would be to the articulation of what we're trying to accomplish. It sounds trivial, but it's so important. So we've tried different ways on the website and in my writings to say, what is the business that we're in? So I've talked about improving customer experience by controlling costs. That's stood the test of time. But there are other things we do as well that maybe will be more engaging to a prospect or to a customer, such as how to harness AI so it doesn't bite you in the butt. I mean, that's a little bit of a crazy joke and maybe one that I don't want to put online, but AI is very scary. And so how can I use AI that will improve customer experience or agent experience is maybe a softer way to put it. But there are a lot of risks and concerns about AI. And so maybe that's a second tagline that we could talk about. And a third one might be, yeah, how can I be global but also local at the same time? How can I have global trends and practices that are fairly standardized, but also be in tune with local differences, whether those local differences are Boston versus Austin versus San Francisco, or the local differences are Ankara versus Lima versus Seattle. And customers are not the same all around. And each one is different. So how can we do that? And so the last one I'm looking at is how can we come up with segments of one? So we've talked about customer segments and personas for years and years in our marketing and customer service business, but in reality, it's really segments of one. And now with AI and with analytics, we can really figure out segments of one. What do you need versus what does this other customer need? So coming up with those themes, those taglines, and the tools behind those are really, I think, the challenge.
Mm, so good. So if we could revisit this conversation in a year,
Yeah.
and we could go like look at your challenges and your goals,
Yeah.
what would the success look like for you and Driva?
I think you'd see one of those themes that I rattled off as being the consistent theme. I'm not sure if it's segments of one or how to make AI work or how to be global or how to do the control call. One of those themes is going to win out. I think we would see which one of those had the most resonance, the most usefulness over time.
Amazing. So how can people reach out to you and connect with you? I know we shared some stuff, but let's condense it all into one
Sure.
spot now for everybody. Where can they find you?
Well, the website is www.drivasolutions.com or .net. That's probably a good way to start. And there you can launch various questions off of that through info@drivasolutions.com. But I always give out my email address on LinkedIn as well, which is bill@drivasolutions.com. And I'd welcome anybody who's listening to reach out to me, to follow me, or to request to LinkedIn. And that's a great way to stay in touch.
Yes, he's a great guy. So such a nice guy. He has dogs, so he's a man after my own heart.
Yeah, there you go.
So we have that in common. But definitely reach out to Bill. He'll definitely connect with you, support you, ask him questions, reach out to his team, go to the website, drivasolutions.com or .net. I've been on the website. It's highly supportive. And you see his whole entire team there. So it's
Yeah.
like when you open it up, it's like you see the whole family. And then connect with him on LinkedIn and go check out his book. Where can we get the book, Bill?
Yeah, the book's available at Amazon. It's also in some of the major bookstores as well. But Amazon, in all their different websites around the world, are selling the Frictionless Organization. Came out in 2022. My first book is The Best Service is No Service. It actually is selling quite well, even though it came out 18 years ago now, 17 years ago now.
Nice.
But you can go on Amazon and actually type in my name or look at any of those books. Click on Bill Price, and you'll see each of the books there.
Perfect. So make sure
All
you
right.
go check out the books and go grab one or four of them from Bill. And if you're watching Bill and I on YouTube, please subscribe and leave a comment for Bill below or a question. And if you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms and you can leave a review such as Apple or Spotify, Amazon, please leave us a 5-star review and leave a review for us because this helps us get this podcast and our guests like Bill and all the amazing information and value that he shared out to more people. And if you know anybody that would benefit from what Bill shared today, please share this episode with them so they can learn how to connect with Bill and also learn the value that he shared with you today. Bill, is there anything that you would like to say that I didn't get to ask you or touch on today?
Wow. The only thing I would say in conclusion is customer expectations are rising constantly, and we have to meet them where they're going. So don't be complacent. If your customer satisfaction scores or customer experience scores are good right now, they're not going to be good next year. So basically, you have to keep moving.
You have to be always forward thinking when it comes to your
Right.
customer service.
Right.
Awesome. Great, great, great gold nugget there, Bill. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And if you're looking to grow your business and you're feeling like it's not get where you want to be and you're not getting that visibility and traction and the clients that you're looking for, go ahead and download our free Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's free. It's yours. Thank you again, Bill, for being here with me today on the Business Growth Spotlight podcast. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
I enjoyed it very much, Heidi, and good luck with your podcast. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode.